Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelly Baltzell, and I'm the CEO and owner of Beyond Indigo Pets. Today is a Tuesday, and I said that with a Minnesota accent there, didn't I? Today we have Tyler Murray, and he is on our social media team, but he has an alter ego. He does voiceover acting, which actually I think a lot of us are aware of, sort of, but we're going to actually go into a little bit deeper dive today and learn about what that is. So welcome, Tyler. So let's start with, okay, I think like we're inundated with voiceover acting all the time, but we don't really understand it or know it. So what is voiceover acting? Let's start there.
Well, voiceover acting is broad. You have commercial voice acting where you do more of like radio and TV spots and things like that. You also have your animation voice acting where you have your cartoons, your anime, things like that. And then you also have video games, which is kind of moving into its own separate thing, which is, you say well done 100 times instead of a couple times to answer certain quests and things like that. So a lot of people do, demo reels for each category now, gaming separately. So it's very broad.
Yeah, but gaming, I suppose, with the more advanced coding that we have available with the consoles coming out these days, the graphics are more rich, the facial expressions are probably more real and things like that. So it provides a more realistic experience to have.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely getting more complicated. Games used to be a lot shorter.
Right.
A lot of people can fly through the original Super Mario Brothers, and Super Mario 64 gave Mario more of a voice, but there weren't a ton of lines. But now you have one character that might take hours and hours and hours, even if it's a background character and what they call an NPC, non-playable character. They might have 50 different responses to a question. So it can get pretty complicated. You can definitely make a career on video games alone.
Wow, who knew? So it is a career thing. Like, you hear about the famous people, Simpsons, for example, have been long-running voice actors for years, but this could be a job, like people on radio. Of course, we kind of understand that one, but I don't think people really think that's a voice acting job. I think they think maybe that's a radio job, but you're right. It really is a big voice. So nobody really sees their faces except on a billboard, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, fame works a little differently in the video game world. Everybody knows who Homer Simpson is, but not everybody knows who, Steve Bloom is, who is the voice for Starscream and Transformers Prime. Not a lot of people know the faces behind those characters. So I think that's kind of a benefit for a lot of voice actors. You don't have to be in the spotlight. You can choose when you want to be in the spotlight with a lot of different Comic-Cons and conventions. So that's actually another way that voice actors make their money is by attending those and doing autographs. And there's usually some kind of per diem that they get when they attend or do panels, things like that.
Well, that's pretty cool. But then they could probably still go to the grocery store and people don't know them on site, right? Like they still have a little bit of normal privacy life that we maybe just take for granted.
Yeah, you might take a double take when you hear a voice, a very distinct voice, but it's definitely a lot easier to lay low.
Okay, cool. So how does one get into this? Like you've been working on it for a while. Like somebody just says, a 4-year-old says, I want to grow up to be a voice actor. What's the process?
I would say the first thing to do is to move to where the acting is, to move to where the studios are. I moved to Los Angeles specifically to do voice acting, and that gives you the opportunity to network, not in the sense of networking to get a job,
right,
but more so networking to get information or to get into classes, suggestions for specific classes. So it's not necessarily about gig networking. It's more just learning the process and finding the right people to talk to. It's still, just all hard work.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what networking is anyway. It's just rounding yourself out in all different varieties and getting the inside knowledge on the scoop or where to go or what's the hot thing, right? Or just who's who.
Right.
And then when people do voice acting, like, is it in stints? Like when they're filming something, is it all at once, or do they come, like a video game, for example? If somebody's going to voice act for a video game, is it like a 2-week commitment to be the voice, or how does that work?
It always depends case by case.
Okay.
A lot of times, sometimes you have one shots. A lot of times with, if you get picked up by a Disney animated show, that might be your biggest gig and you hold on to that for who knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends. And for those people that are trying to get into it, I would recommend, saving up enough money, getting a good chunk of money to move out to LA or I think Dallas has a lot of anime now. Yeah, Dallas has a lot of anime now, but I would suggest Los Angeles is a great start. Take a bunch of classes, take classes over and find the right classes, meet up with other voice actors at conventions and learn where they take classes. Save up more money so that once you're ready and your voice acting coach says you're ready, make your demo reel and then start submitting it to agencies because, everything's unionized out here. Acting is unionized. So, it's good to get an agent and get your foot in the door with one of the unions in order to get, almost all of the work is unionized. So, it's a grind, but what passion is not?
Correct, right? You gotta, nobody just approaches it and is perfect the first time.
Yeah.
Even prodigies aren't that way.
Well, I will say I'm very proud to have had my first paid acting gig by voicing something for a client here at Beyond Indigo.
Isn't that great?
So I'm going to count it. I'm going to count it because it's, it's in my paycheck. So it counts as my very first gig.
It does. And you got to get a start somewhere, and it gives you footage, right, to show to people. And
exactly.
You're always more desirable if you've already been hired. That's just the way it goes.
It's true.
Do you have a setup that you use? Like you have to have your own studio or?
We are building, I got 2 new roommates and they're both voice actors. So we're turning our closet and we're soundproofing the whole thing because of COVID, it makes it a lot more difficult to record. We can't just go into studios all the time, even to take classes. So almost all classes are over Zoom or webcam. So there's really great resources. There's a website called, I believe it's called So You Want to Be a Voice Actor. And it gives you a ton of information about what home setups are going to look like, what type of equipment is good. But we are currently in the process of turning our downstairs storage closet into a booth itself. That way we can just hop in, turn off the AC, do our auditions, pop out, and be ready to go.
And then send it in the format they want sent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that limits your contact too then with people like
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing my demo at Bill Farmer. He plays Goofy. He has a newer studio that they're making. So I'm going to be doing my demo there. And the way that they do it is completely no contact. You go into a garage or a building that's completely separated from everybody else. Everybody's on the TV instead of in person. You get direction that way. So I'm really excited to be doing that. It is going to be very strange in the pandemic to try and, because I'm just getting started. So all of this is kind of crazy with the pandemic. So I'm definitely getting thrown through the ringer, as they say.
Yeah, there's an extra level with the pandemic. I mean, it's just extra any way you slice it, right? And so starting off in a new field or a new passion is always a learning curve, but I think COVID makes it a little bit steeper in some ways because there's more hoops or there's more things to watch or it's just
there's a lot of independent animation studios and even just independent animators in general whose shows are getting picked up like crazy. You have HBO Max now, you have All Access CBS, you have all these streaming services that are popping up all over the place. So there's a lot more opportunity. Even just YouTube, there's a lot of, independent shows that are coming out that, people that are just coming out of college might be looking for voice actors. So It's definitely the Wild West right now.
It's sometimes the most fun. Well,
Oh yeah,
thank you for telling us about voice acting, and
of course.
maybe for us to be a little bit more aware of where we hear voices, right? Like you said, like video games, for example. I mean,
Mhm.
I started playing video games a long time ago, and it was all text. You know, you didn't have any voice because it was too large of a file to add it into the consoles back in the day.
Yeah. Did you ever play Zork back in the day?
No,
I don't know.
I didn't play
It was
Zork. I was a Baldur Gates girl.
very text-based, right? Can you imagine if all of those lines were spoken?
No, I mean, even like my old RPG games, you know, where all the lines, they had to be short because nobody would ever read it. Nobody's there to read the dialogue really about a game, right? I mean, it's not the point. It's to augment it, not be a book online.
Yeah, I think a big thing too is World of Warcraft. I can't imagine a single voice actor that hasn't been in that I know, because the world is so big and there's so many characters and there's so many voices happening all over the place that, I mean, even that one job, you know, if you're doing that and getting gigs through even just World of Warcraft, you know, you can make enough money to scratch by.
Well, it's a start, right? And build your portfolio. And the bigger your portfolio, the more people know what you can do. And the more you can do, then the more desirable you are. It's just building blocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like any other gig, you know, you want to meet the right people and learn from those people and do, in a way, they're like little internships where you follow the other voice actors around and learn as much as you can from them.
You just picture like a mother duckling with baby ducklings following
that. I mean, isn't that business in general?
It is business. And then also just being in the right place at the right time. That's not always something you can control, but you.
Yeah. Well, it's like stacking the deck in your favor. You may not always pick the right card, but at least it's stacked in your favor by moving out to LA or getting the right demo with the right person and making sure that you're being professional, things like that. So yeah, you can stack it in your favor.
Well, thank you for the hot tips today, Tyler. And we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.